911, what's your emergency?
In a quiet, snow-dusted corner of Utah, behind the curated facade of a perfect life, a call was made that would unravel a web of devastating secrets. But the story the public would first hear was not one of darkness, but of manufactured grief. Picture this. A smiling Utah mother sits on a morning talk show holding up a brightly illustrated children's book she says she wrote to help her 3 little boys cope with their father's sudden death. She presents herself as a grieving widow, channeling her pain into a creative project designed to heal her family. The book is titled, "Are You With Me?" Her voice cracks with emotion as she reads lines about angels in the clouds and whispers in the wind. She tells the sympathetic host how the loss of her husband, Eric, was the hardest thing her family had ever endured, and how this book became a lifeline for her sons, a way to keep their father's memory alive. It was a masterful performance, a portrait of resilience that America wanted to believe. But the truth was a chilling inversion of this carefully crafted narrative. But just months earlier, that same mother had slipped nearly 5 times a lethal dose of fentanyl into her husband's Moscow Mule cocktail. Then watched him die at the foot of their bed before calmly calling 911. She told the dispatcher her husband was cold to the touch, a calculated, emotionless description of the man whose life she had just extinguished. This isn't fiction. This is the jaw-dropping true story of Kouri Richins, the real estate investor, devoted mom, and now convicted murderer whose twisted double life shattered a family and captivated the nation. She was a pillar of her community by day and a meticulous plotter by night, living a reality so duplicitous it defies belief. In March 2026, a Summit County jury took just 3 hours to find her guilty on every single charge: aggravated murder, attempted aggravated murder, forgery, and 2 counts of insurance fraud. The speed of the verdict spoke volumes about the overwhelming evidence against her. She now faces 25 years to life. Tonight on Shadows of the Unresolved, we peel back every chilling layer of this case. The secret affairs, the forged life insurance policies worth millions, the Valentine's Day poison attempt that failed, and the heartbreaking betrayal that left 3 young boys without their father. All while their mother profited from their grief in the most public way possible. We will expose the digital trail that led investigators to her door and the damning testimony that sealed her fate. You think you know the perfect suburban family? Think again. Behind the white picket fences and smiling family portraits, a different story can unfold. The truth is darker than you can imagine. From the outside, Kouri Richins and Eric Richins seemed to have it all. They lived in a sprawling, custom-built home just outside Park City, Utah. It was the kind of place where ski resorts sparkle like diamond dust in the winter, and the vast mountain views are meant to take your breath away. In this exclusive enclave of wealth and ambition, they projected an image of effortless success, a young, attractive couple building a dynasty against a postcard-perfect backdrop. Eric, at 39, was the foundation of their life. He ran a successful and respected stonemasonry business, a trade that required strength, artistry, and patience. He was known for his craftsmanship, building tangible legacies of stone and mortar that would stand for generations. His work was solid, dependable, everything his life with Kouri was not. Kouri, then 35, operated in a world that was faster and far more volatile. She flipped houses and called herself a real estate investor, buying and selling luxury properties in a high-stakes game of profit and loss. She was chasing a bigger, more extravagant dream, one that required immense capital and carried enormous risk. Together, they had 3 young sons, the very picture of a happy, thriving family. On the surface, they were living the American dream, amplified by the rarefied air of Park City. But behind the closed doors of their magnificent home, the marriage was collapsing under the crushing weight of debt and deceit. Kouri's ambitious ventures had become a financial black hole. She owed more than $1.8 million to various lenders. The dream was a facade, and the bills were coming due. Desperate for a way out, Kouri allegedly turned to a sinister solution. Eric's life was insured for roughly $2.2 million across multiple policies. But prosecutors would later present evidence that Eric knew nothing about these recent massive increases in coverage. They argued Kouri had forged his signature, turning her husband into a winning lottery ticket just weeks before his death. The poison plot, investigators now say, began to take shape in the cold, early months of 2022. On February 11th, after texting an acquaintance with a criminal history, Kouri obtained a batch of illicit fentanyl for the first time. Just 3 days later, on Valentine's Day, she allegedly made her first attempt on his life, lacing a sandwich she'd brought home for him from a local restaurant. After eating it, Eric broke out in hives, his throat began to close, and he felt a terrifying sense of impending doom. Thinking it was a severe allergic reaction, he managed to use his son's EpiPen and survived the ordeal, shaken but alive.
I think my wife tried to poison me.
My husband isn't breathing.
To the outside world, it looked like a tragic overdose. Eric had no history of drug abuse. Toxicology reports would later reveal the horrifying truth. Eric had roughly 5 times the lethal dose of illicit fentanyl in his system. Prosecutors say it came from a Moscow Mule cocktail Kouri mixed for him that night. Cell phone data painted a damning picture. Kouri's phone was locked at 9:32 p.m. It moved just 35 feet around 10:30 p.m., then dramatically 243 feet at 3:08 a.m. She unlocked it 6 times in the 15 minutes before calling 911 at 3:21 a.m. Eric was already cold to the touch. The housekeeper, Carmen Lauber, dropped a bombshell during the 2026 trial. She testified that Kouri asked her 4 separate times to buy drugs, including fentanyl, which Kouri chillingly referred to as the Michael Jackson stuff. Almost exactly 1 year after Eric's death, in March 2023, Kouri self-published a children's picture book titled Are You With Me? The timing was, to say the least, audacious. While the community was still reeling from the sudden loss of a beloved husband and father, Kouri was rebranding herself as a grieving widow turned inspirational author. The book, with its soft pastel cover depicting a child looking up at an angelic figure in the sky, was presented as a beacon of hope. It was a project she claimed was born from her own family's profound pain, a tool to help other families navigate the impossible. It was marketed as a gentle way to help kids cope with losing a parent. The book featured a little boy searching for signs of his late father in everyday life. Angels in the clouds, whispers in the wind. The narrative was simple, comforting and deeply poignant. It spoke of finding continued connection and love even after a devastating departure. For the public, it was a touching tribute. For Kouri, it was a carefully constructed performance, a public relations campaign designed to paint her as a resilient, devoted mother shepherding her children through darkness. Kouri promoted it on local morning shows, smiling through interviews about how the book was helping her own 3 sons grieve. She sat on brightly lit television sets, projecting an image of strength and vulnerability. She spoke eloquently about the challenges of single motherhood and the importance of keeping her husband's memory alive for their children. "I just wanted some story to read to my kids at night, and I searched Amazon and other stores, and I just couldn't find anything that really, suited them and was helping them grasp what had just happened. So I was like, let's just write one." But trial testimony revealed the devastating truth. Kouri had paid a ghostwriter to actually write the book. Texts and emails shown in court proved she was more focused on the book-writing process to get ready for the big one, hinting at future plans. The ghostwriter testified that Kouri provided the concept but had no hand in the actual writing. The entire heartwarming story she sold to the media was a fabrication. Her communications weren't about healing, they were about logistics, deadlines, and marketing. The phrase, "the big one," hung in the courtroom, a chilling premonition of a much larger, more sinister ambition. 2 months after the book dropped, on May 8, 2023, the facade shattered. Kouri Richins was arrested and charged with aggravated murder. The author who wrote about angels was now accused of being a monster. The motive, according to prosecutors, pure financial gain. Wipe out her crushing debt, cash in on millions in life insurance, and start a new life with the man she was secretly seeing. Investigators alleged that Kouri was drowning in financial problems, owing hundreds of thousands of dollars and facing foreclosure. Eric's life insurance policies, worth nearly $2 million, were the key to solving all her problems. The book, the interviews, the public grieving, it was all a smokescreen, a calculated act to misdirect suspicion while she planned to secure a fortune and escape with her lover. Trial began in late February 2026 in the Summit County Courthouse. Nearly 40 witnesses took the stand. Kouri waived her right to testify. The defense called 0 witnesses and argued the state couldn't prove exactly how the fentanyl got into Eric's system. But the jury wasn't buying it. On March 16, 2026, after just 3 hours of deliberation, the 8-person panel returned guilty verdicts on all counts. Kouri bowed her head as the words "guilty" echoed through the courtroom. She now faces 25 years to life, possibly life without parole. Sentencing is set for May 13, 2026, which would have been Eric's 44th birthday. A grieving widow who wrote a book to comfort children, exposed as the very monster who created their grief. As the echoes of this case fade into the night, one truth remains. Some shadows never fully lift. The unanswered questions, the whispers in the dark, the lives forever changed. They linger. Here, at Shadows of the Unresolved, we peel back the layers of the cases that refuse to rest. If you felt that chill, if you need to know what hides just beyond the light, hit that subscribe button now, turn on notifications, and step deeper into the shadows with us. Because the truth is still out there, waiting until the next unresolved mystery. Stay watchful.